You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
IMHO Talk Shows.
That was tight.
Sir Charles.
I like
Razor,
that.
Miss Max, Giles. We are still here. Tell a friend, tell a friend. We're gonna be here for a minute. We got you here to edutain. And so, as promised, we are joined right now by the fire chief of our city of Charlottesville, Chief Hezedean Smith. Chief Smith, sir, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. For accepting.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we we're looking forward to this date on the calendar. Because for those that don't know, the city of Charlottesville has only had 5 fire chiefs, and just last year. So I guess you started beginning of this year, right? Of you being the first Black fire chief for this city, so congratulations on that. And so welcome. It's kind of an official welcome to you, sir. But I wanted to kind of start there, though. Like fire departments aren't something that's talked about a lot within our community. It's not like table, and a lot of times I even remember Razor Giles. When we were kids, like we would play with fire trucks. You want to be a policeman, fireman. You know what I mean? But then for whatever reason in the Black community, that doesn't sustain. That encouragement to go into that field isn't there. So I'm curious on what inspired you, to be a part of fire and rescue.
So interestingly, I'll try to take my mask off because I don't know how clear it is.
Okay, that's better.
Interesting. I'm from Jamaica originally, and I moved to the United States in 1982, and I moved to Orlando, Florida, and at that point, even before I got to Orlando, Florida, really, my mother worked for the local government, almost like City Hall. Mm-hmm. She worked at City Hall, and she had served some time in the military as well in Jamaica. But right next to her workplace was a fire station in reality. And I didn't really understand that, there's a connection there, there's opportunities, none of that, but mm-hmm. There was a fire station that I used to go by all the time. So coincidentally, I came to America and joined the military. I spent about 4 years in the military. That's where I got into the medical services part of it, the emergency medical services part of it. And after I spent 4 years in the military, I got out and then went back to Orlando. And working at the hospital, I was introduced to a gentleman who's they were dropping off a patient, and he's like, "Hey, young man, have you ever thought about being in the fire department?" I said, "Well, I kind of know a little bit about the fire service, but I really didn't know how much value it would be to be part of an organization like that." So I was invited to the fire station, and he showed me around and things of that sort. And that's really where I got the bug, and started going to school and so on and so forth. So really, It's a matter of exposure, and I think that's where the opportunity lies in our neighborhoods and in our community to really have more exposure to this profession, public safety, emergency services, fire services as a profession.
Yeah. Wow, thank you for that background. Yeah, Miss Max.
Yeah. What went into your thought process to come to Charlottesville?
So, I got to the point in my career, and
we might as well jump in, right?
Yeah. I got to a point in my career where I was ready to make a move, and I had the opportunity to retire from the Orlando Fire Department. And really, I could have retired probably about 4 years prior to coming here, 4.5 years or so. But, I just kind of said, you know what, maybe it's time to do something different, make a difference in a community that really would probably, I feel, I can contribute to moving an organization, stabilizing an organization, but most important, contributing to the community, and realizing that an organization such as this, they've only had like 5 fire chiefs, like you said. I kind of said to myself, maybe this is an opportunity. So, I put my papers in, and fortunately, I moved through the process, and I was recommended for hire, and I'm very happy to be here. So Charlottesville, being a small, close-knit community, very historically rich community, also influenced my decision, because coming from Jamaica, I'm used to a small community anyway, right? And I started my fire service profession in an organization similar to Charlottesville Fire Department, where it was very small, tight-knit, and everybody in the community knew each other. It only had 3 fire stations. So I thought it would be a good transition to come here and be a part of this community and contribute in any way possible.
Got you. Hezedean Smith. So Razor, he, the brothers from Jamaica. I didn't know that, but I knew Hezedean felt a little biblical. Like that felt, I'm like, I can feel that's a powerful name.
When I heard your name, I said, he tall, ain't he? I guarantee it. Yeah, you can only name a tall black man Hezedean. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Charlie, I was over here because like his accent came out really, really fast to me, right? And I was like, oh man, he just. And then when you said it, I was like, okay. And I was over here giggling because I could just imagine, you seem like a mountain of a man. You got this big personality, and I could just see you getting excited underneath that mask and that Jamaican accent come out, and you try to direct everybody. I'd love to hear it one time. So if you want to call me when you get excited like it, I'd love to hear it.
No, I tell you, anytime I talk about Jamaica, man, I am so proud to be a Jamaican. I'm proud to be a black man as well. Don't get me wrong. Being a black man is number one, right? But being a Jamaican is like, to me, it's the ultimate. And our culture is, out of many one people, right? So we don't really look at color and all of that stuff. We're really about being good and contributing to what we can do to our community and the family that we serve.
All right,
be a part of.
That's spot on.
Yeah, we got to do lunch one day, man.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Cville Fire Chief Hezedean Smith. And Chief Smith, so like you mentioned exposure. So what are some ideas that you have or some things that you would like to see in our community to expose more of our kids to the fire department, ways of getting them engaged and see that as a possible career?
So, one of the things that I've always valued is mentorship, right? And, in Orlando, we kind of formed this nonprofit organization called Unity in Uniform. But it really spun out of me being in a position at the fire station in one of the inner city fire stations, right? And having seen kids come by to get air in their bicycle tires, right? And at some point we started saying, maybe there's an opportunity here. Instead of them just coming by to get air in their tire, let's bring them into the fire station and show them the fire station. But we really didn't formalize that until, I was a lieutenant at the time, and I said, hey, how's school going? The next time you come by here, I want you to bring your books so we can help you with your homework, right? So by starting that little mentoring opportunity there, we were able to build a framework of mentorship for youth in the community. And I think that's a great opportunity here. Now, realizing that the dynamics are a little bit different here because of COVID now and all of that, but the virtual platform is out there. So maybe an opportunity to help kids with their homework or even do some virtual tours to kind of expose them to what the fire service is about and, the emergency medical services is about as well. Because it's not just about fighting fires, it's also about emergency services in general, and also non-emergency services on the medical and also on the fire side.
Now that, that leads me to a good point, y'all. And I'm not going to ask you to get political unless you so choose. But you made me think about the defund the police. Let me, tell you where I'm going with that, right? What some people don't understand is that talks about like removing services that the police may not need to have on their table, right? So like, what are some of the services that what's the list of the services that the fire department offers communities? Because I don't think that we're very clear on that, because I think like a lot of it crosses, like people say when I call 911, who does it get dispatched to? Like, is this something that sometimes police reports to that another entity should be reporting on? Like, so what are the resources?
So public safety, and I'll say that I'm not going to get specific about that discussion about defunding police and all that, but public safety has evolved, right? And through that process, you look at opportunities for diversifying the services that you provide. Years ago, the fire service only fought fire. However, as of late, the last 20, 30 years or so, they've expanded into other dimensions, right? Emergency medical services, right? But nowadays, even in the last 10 years, they've actually expanded that into what we call community risk reduction initiatives, which involves prevention, which involves preparedness, recovery, and all those things. So the fire service is so versatile, and especially now there's a lot of opportunities to do various things in the community. whether it has to do with mental health, whether it has to do with safety in the community, people being trained to stop the bleed if there's someone that's injured in the streets, or doing CPR, those initiatives. So there's a plethora of different services that a fire department can provide. And as long as we have the resources, the financial resources and the human resource and the support by city leaders to move in that direction, we're capable of doing a lot of additional things.
Yeah.
I got a question for him real quick. When it, like Charles said, coming up, I had cousins that were a part of the volunteer firefighters, right? So it wasn't until I got older to understand that people actually could make a career out of it. When it comes to being part of the fire department, in your tenure of what you've seen, how does equality match up to that? Because when we look at the police, we tend to look at it like it's them versus us. When it comes to the fire department, how is, I understand, like, you may go into a fire and you got to know you got to trust this person and your life's on the line. I get all that. But when it comes to the non-fire part of it, how does the equality go into this? Because you talked about mentorship. So here at IMHO, we always want to teach our children and our listeners what they may be getting into or what they can expect.
So when we talk about equality, the fire service, as you well know, and you may be privy to, it hasn't been as diverse as we really want it to be. We understand that. And there are many reasons for that, right? But the reality is, as times continue to change and individuals like myself assume leadership responsibilities, and there's a number of fire chiefs across the United States that have this vision. And it's not just about a black fire chief per se, but having that vision of inclusiveness, having that idea that how do you make the employee have a sense of belonging, right? How do you help that employee identify where their strengths are and have them seek opportunities for promotion and professional development, professional growth? So when you talk about equality, it's a hard one to really put a finger on, right? Because it depends on who's mentoring you, right? It depends on what your connections are in terms of your network. So all those things play a part, and each individual has to kind of look at themselves and say, okay, what am I doing to move equality forward and make sure people feel like they have an equal opportunity at being successful, making the ranks, and so on and so forth. And also making sure that you're not discriminating against any one particular group, but making those opportunities available to everyone. And ultimately, individuals recognize that, okay, here's an opportunity for me to get mentored by someone, or ask someone, hey, can you show me what this is about? Can you explain to me how you got here? What were the steps that you took to get to where you are? So those are the important elements when we talk about that. Now, on the provision of services, when we talk about equality, we're here to serve the public, right? It doesn't matter race, gender, and all of that. None of that matters to us as firefighters. We're here, we will risk our lives for anybody in the community. And that's ultimately what we do. We don't look at it in that way. And I'm very proud to say we have an organization. The city of Charlottesville has an organization that really is committed to providing a comprehensive service delivery to our community members, regardless of who they are, where they live, and all of that.
Thank you.
Hey, Charles, when I was a kid, the only thing I knew about fire departments, like when I saw on TV shows, that they went up in the tree to get people cats out of the thing.
See?
So that was
the miseducation of racism.
Right, exactly. I'm just telling you, that's all I saw. Them go up and get the cat out of the tree.
Chief Smith, what is the process for becoming a firefighter? One of the things that comes to mind, and I don't mean to make light of the question, but it's like, in terms of diversifying the department, Black people and fire don't exactly go together. We're not exactly running towards the fire. But I am curious about, how does one
stereotypes?
I'm just saying.
Yeah. So I'll share this with the listening audience. Fighting fire is actually probably a 20%, 25% part of the job that we do. It's primarily a combination of public education, but more so emergency medical services. That's primarily what we do as our business model, if you may. The fighting the fire, it is there, but it's a small percentage. So that's one of the most important things for people to understand. Because, you know, a lot of times when I was in the community, they're like, man, I'm not running no fight, no building. When you educate an individual about, okay, what is this whole process about? They're like, oh, I didn't think it was like that. You're wearing your gear and all those things. So to get into fire service, as a matter of fact, I was having some conversations with K-Tech. They actually have a program, but for minors, actually 16, 17-year-olds, to actually take these courses during their high school or during that program to actually, when they graduate, they actually could be eligible to join the fire department.
Okay. Is it an age limit? Like, y'all don't take them after a certain age? Like, I have to be able to perform certain services, like be able to carry somebody, or?
You have to be physically capable of doing so.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, nobody's going to say, well, you're 45 years old. No, if you can do the job. And that's my mission as well. I don't know if you paid attention to our most recent class of 20 persons that we hired. We hired a diverse group of individuals, and they're all capable of doing the job.
Okay.
So back to your question, the school depends on if you go Monday through Friday. You can probably get through a firefighting program in maybe 4 months or 6 months, depending on what it is. In addition to that, you also have to do what we call emergency medical training, emergency medical technician training. So that's an additional amount of time. But what's so unique about the Charlottesville Fire Department, we hire you without requiring you to have firefighter credentials and EMT certification. So the group I just hired, we hired probably about half of them had the training and the other half didn't. And that, to me, made a great group when we talk about diversifying the fire department and moving our Charlottesville Fire Department forward.
Gotcha. Thank you. Giles?
It's just great stuff, Chief Smith, to hear. And I think, you know, if anybody has questions about what benefits or what progress we've made in the city over the last few years, which have been painful and continue to be painful sometimes when we talk about race and leadership. You know, Chief Smith, what you're talking about is a perfect example of change and of progress and of changing, I think, the mentality about responsibility to who's in the family. That's the thing I think that's so what I'm hearing from you, and that I think fire departments are like family, because you work all the time and you're willing to risk your lives. So if that family starts out all white in Orange County, and that's the best way to have an upper middle class life as a local guy, it becomes a club of those people. And it's hard to break into that. But if you change it, that club just gets better.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
He took a shot at
and
Orange
I would
County.
say to you,
I know, I heard that.
I'll say to you that I'm very proud of the selection of this group of 20. Out of that, we have 7 females. When I came on the job in Charlottesville, we only have 1, 2, 3 females. I just hired 7 females in a group of 20. So, you know, there is that opportunity for us to move the organization forward, and I'm committed to doing so. And it's not about just being female. It's about really the diversity of thoughts. You know, what you bring to the table. It's not about your skin color only and all of that. It's about what you bring to the table, right? So your thought process, your attributes, your academic achievements and things of that sort, all of those influence how a department moves forward in terms of addressing diversity and inclusiveness.
Right on.
Thank you for that. I mean, I'm sure our listeners could read between the lines of what you just now said. So I'm grateful for your position in the city and for the work that you're doing in your department. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Your family now. Welcome to come back on anytime
That's
and speak about the fire department.
Yeah. And I definitely appreciate the opportunity. And I'll say one thing in closing. You know, it's not about being the first Black fire chief. It's about making the community I serve and we serve number one. That's what it's about. The community we serve needs to be number one. And certainly the men and women that I serve, I want to make sure they're number one. And the things that I do address their needs, whether it's mental health needs, whether it's staffing needs, and so on and so forth. So that's my ultimate goal. And that's what I'm about. And I'm happy to be a part of this family in Charlottesville.
Hey, welcome.
Chief Smith, you sound like you trying to run for office later on or something.
No, I can't do that.
You don't want that smoke, huh? No pun intended.
No, I'm good. I'm good. I
That
appreciate
type
y'all
of
bringing me on
mindset,
there.
though.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that type of mindset crosses so many barriers, and does the real work to change an organization. So, again, we thank you for what you're doing.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Good.